Hey guys, this is Ty Simpson. You're listening to the Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roll Tide.
The mix of salty sea air and burnt rubber. The big skies, high banks, and grandstands. The rumble in your chest. That's what we love about the Daytona 500. Honoring history and making it. At the biggest race of the year on the biggest stage of a lifetime. That's what we love about the Daytona 500. You gotta see it to believe it. Secure your experience now at Daytona500.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you in studio on this Tuesday afternoon as we look back at a great weekend for Alabama athletics, not just in football, but basketball as well. A fun edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, coming up today. We'll start our show by taking a look at what's coming up on the program, plus our headlines thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young, the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything in a very interactive way coming up today. First of all, we'll take a look back to Saturday night in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Saban Field was rocking all throughout thanks to Alabama's 20-9 win over the LSU Tigers. We'll look back at our booth cam highlights presented by Regions Bank to begin the show. Then we'll have a one-on-one conversation with one of the key contributors to that win for Alabama, Keon Keeley. He also had the game-ending sack against South Carolina. He joins us to talk about his journey to Alabama and earning more playing time this season. Then we'll visit with Chris Stewart talking about, of course, what's coming up with Hey Coach tomorrow night. Of course, talking about football, but also talking about men's basketball, that great win against St. John's, and what's ahead coming up on Thursday against Purdue. Then Jerry Duncan will join us, a former CTSN sideline reporter for 24 years. He was an Alabama Sports Hall of Famer as a football player for the Crimson Tide in the 60s. Two-time national champion Jerry Duncan will join us as our Alabama Legend of the Week as we get ready to honor the 60-year anniversary of Alabama's 1965 national championship team. And then another Crimson Tide legend will round out the show. Tyler Watts, he was, of course, with us last night for Crimson Tide Rewind at Baumhower's in Vestavia Hills. We'll give you the best of Rewind from last night with Be Kind Crimson Tide Rewind. Speaking of that Crimson Tide football team, Tyler and I had fun breaking down Alabama's 20-9 win over the LSU Tigers. Kept the Tigers out of the end zone all night long. Great performance for Alabama, the 8th straight victory for the Crimson Tide. And here in Tuscaloosa, Kalen DeBoer, yes, he loves the black hoodie. Yes, he loves coaching at home at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. He has never been nothing but a winner, 12-0, coaching at home here in Tuscaloosa. Parker Brailsford continues to anchor that offensive line for Alabama, and due to his fine performance against LSU, keeping Ty Simpson clean in the pocket, he was named the SEC Lineman of the Week. And now coming up this Saturday, the Oklahoma Sooners come to town, a Sooners team that only has 2 losses on the season. They're right in the mix of the college football playoff race, so we look forward to Alabama against Oklahoma. 2:30 the start time with the kickoff. Our radio airtime will be coming up at 11:30 all across the network. Then taking a look at Alabama basketball, men's and women's basketball, Saturday got off to such a great start for Alabama fans due to the win in New York City against St. John's, 103-96 the final score. LeBaron Philon, a new career high of 25 points. You go back to last Monday against North Dakota, had a career high that night at 22. He got 3 points better against the Johnnies this past Saturday, so he is your first SEC Player of the Week for this season. Now coming up on Thursday, Alabama at home against number 2 Purdue. They were ranked number 1 when we filmed our interview with Chris Stewart, so you may hear us mention that coming up in a moment. But Purdue now number 2 in the country. The Crimson Tide had been number 15. Now Alabama is number 8. So a top 10 showdown. It's sold out, and we will be there coming up at Coleman Coliseum at 6 p.m. for the tip-off. Our radio coverage will start at 5 o'clock. Don't forget to watch our basketball booth cam as well, presented by NASCAR, streaming live during Alabama against Purdue coming up on Thursday night. By the way, women's basketball picking up another impressive victory as Christy Curry's team wins 92-39. Final score against Alcorn State. Alabama off to a 3-0 start. We won't see the Crimson Tide again until next Monday when the Crimson Tide host Alabama A&M. But again, a winning start, especially at home. Good to see for Christy Curry and the Crimson Tide women's basketball team. Also want to shout out our friend Joe Nichols. He is coming to Tuscaloosa coming up this week with a concert at Vector Security Champions Lane. I mentioned our radio start time will be 11:30 a.m. We'll be on stage just before Joe will hit the stage at 12:30 p.m. coming up on Saturday, but should be a tremendous concert from Joe Nichols. We've had some great acts in the last few weeks, whether it's Uncle Cracker, Dasha, Reagan Strange. It has been a fun time at Vector Security Champions Lane, and we really can't wait to see Joe Nichols rocked the stage before Alabama and Oklahoma. It was certainly rocking on Saturday in Tuscaloosa for Alabama's win against LSU. We take a look back now at our booth cam highlights presented by Regions Bank. All the big moments from Alabama's win over the Tigers.
Just about set to get things going as Aaron Burrell will kick it off for LSU. Cole Adams and Latsier Brooks are the deep men for the Crimson Tide. The kickoff, a good one, sailing towards the end zone by action. Tide looking across the middle. He's got a man, catch is made. That's Jeremy at the 45, dragging a Tiger all the way across midfield to the LSU 46. Move the chains. A bank first down after a 33-yard pickup. Tigers operating from inside their own territory with Brown and Parker wide to the right side. Tight end is offset to the right as well, and Thomas to the left side of the formation. Single setback for Nussmeier, who gets the snap, sets up the screen across the middle of the tight end. He's got a first down and more. Ball's knocked loose, fumble recovered by Bama. And that is fantastic because the guy that forced it is the guy that got it. Nakai Hill-Green, a huge hit on the tight end Sharp, who had the first down, but he didn't have the pigskin. Talty to kick it from the hold of Dowd. Snap and spot are good. The kick is up. It's got plenty of leg, and the kick is good. So LSU has missed a field goal, and Alabama drills one. Waiting. Now Daniel steps right beside him. They'll hand it off to him. And Daniel up the middle, carrying a tackler to the goal line. Is he in? No signal yet. Touchdown, Alabama. It took a while to get there, but we got the news we wanted. A 5-yard touchdown run from Daniel Hill, and Alabama regains the lead. It's 9-3. Edric Hill, London Simmons along the front, along with Jordan Renaud. They will hand it off, and that was a mistake because they're going to lose 4, maybe 5 yards. Josh Cuevas, Caleb Edwards, the tight ends, Daniel Hill in the game, and we got a fullback out there. Oh my goodness, Martin Houston and Baron Hoover are losing their minds right now as we show fullback with Josh Cuevas. Play action, looking deep, stepping up, firing across the middle, catch is made. Bernard breaks the tackle, hesitates, and then did the math and got out of bounds as there were 3 Tigers circling around him. Gets the snap, looking, stepping up in the pocket, firing deep downfield. Got a man, Latsier Brooks makes the catch, tripped up at the 12, then he fumbles where they're going to mark him down. Ty taking a lot of time, but gets the snap off, looks, fires, catch, touchdown Alabama. Ryan Williams making the grab. Hooray for Hollywood as Bama extends the lead to 16-3.
Boy, that's what we wanted on the previous possession, but we got it here because of clock mismanagement by LSU. Go figure. That's something we've never talked about down in Baton Rouge, is it? But heck of a job by Ty Simpson throwing that ball to Latsier Brooks. Talk about turning on the burners to run that one down and set up a scoring opportunity here for Ryan Williams. Working the verticals, gets lost between the corner and the safety. High points it, brings it down for a touchdown.
Timeouts. We don't need no stinking timeouts. Alabama able to score quickly. They'll put 3 wideouts to the left side, 1 man to the right of Nussmeier. He wants to throw. Pressure coming. He's going to go down. Jan Zapier brings him down all the way back at the 30.
Might have Van Buren in at quarterback.
I think you're exactly right. That is the new QB in the game. He's going to roll and dump it off, and the catch is made, and what a play by Red Morgan. Upending Anderson.
I love seeing a defensive lineman wearing number 14.
Who are you referencing?
Henry. He's the one that hit the kicker. Sorry.
That's all right. Oh, come on, Gutless. You're not going to try for the last name?
Too much respect. Here's Caden Proctor out in the slot.
You're right. Cade's in the slot. They fake it to him. They throw it across the middle, and the pass complete to Cuevas, the tight end. That's the biggest dang decoy you're going to find in any hunting ground in America. But here at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, that is exactly what Caden Proctor was. We get 23 on the connection. My eyes saw Curious Kern. My brain wanted to say Curious George, and I could not stop it for the longest time. That's the reason I hesitated. But Kern is the one who is called for the false start. That is the fourth on LSU in this ball game.
He was a man with the yellow hat.
He was indeed. Very well done. Juwan Johnson, the running back, behind the quarterback Van Buren in the pistol formation. They bring a man in motion left, play action. That's the direction Van Buren will roll. He's going to go down. Oh, what a great play by Alabama. And L.T. Overton got him to the turf. Pass across the middle, batted around. And after the deflection, Wilkin Formby grabbed it. That's the second, actually, officially the third catch by an offensive lineman this year for the Crimson Tide. We know about Caden Proctor, but Parker Brailsford caught a deflection, and now Wilkin Formby got him one. 44-yard field goal try, near side from Talty. 1 of 2 today. The kick is up. The kick has enough leg, and the kick is good. Huge kick from Connor Talty with 4:25 to go. Looking to throw. Van Buren had it poked away. Ball's on the deck, and Alabama's got it. Jan Pierre knocked it away, and coming out with it for the Crimson Tide is London Simmons. Jeremy Bernard will line up at quarterback for Alabama. He is the only man back there in the backfield. The snap to him, flips it to Ty, coming on a reverse. He'll throw on the run, and the catch is made by Cuevas near the first down mark, and I do believe that's enough. It is. Victory formation for Ty Simpson.
I just wonder how many of these little creative plays Ryan Grubb has. That's what I get. I mean, how deep are we got? He's one of those guys that sits up at night drawing stuff in a notebook, like that coach on the water board. I mean, he never seems to run out, of creative plays in short yardage situations. These are all 2-point conversion looks.
You're right.
And they're working. I love it.
But I think they're going to do it now. They will. And look, it's time, folks. Let's get out of here. 20-9. Far from a thing of beauty. Tip of the hat to Frank Wilson's Tigers, who did indeed battle from start to finish. But to the victor go the spoils, including getting to sing the song.
That's the end of the game. The final score, Alabama 20, LSU 9.
As Alabama beats LSU by a final score of 20-9. The Tide improving to 6-0 in league play, 8-1 overall. LSU now 5-4. They are 2-4 in the Southeastern Conference. And next up, that all-important showdown between Alabama and the Oklahoma Sooners. A 2:30 kick next weekend here at Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
This isn't just a race, it's the race. 500 miles of glory, a million memories, one place. That's what we love about the Daytona 500. You gotta see it to believe it. Secure your experience now at Daytona500.com.
One name that Chris Stewart and Tyler Watts have been talking more about in recent weeks, Keon Keeley, coming off the edge for Alabama. He has been dynamic, especially against South Carolina, getting that game-ending sack. Keon Keeley has been a playmaker for the Crimson Tide, and he joins us now on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roger Hoover now pleased to be joined by Crimson Tide defensive end, one of the most versatile players on the roster, Keon Keeley. We're here at the Advantage Center, brought to you by LLH Healthcare, inside Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And Keon, roll Tide. It is certainly good to see you. How are you enjoying this 2025 season?
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. It's been a great season, a lot of great moments, but that's what it's about, just going 1-0 every week. So, yeah.
We saw the Crimson Tide go 1-0 against South Carolina to close out the month of October, and you had the game-ending hit for Alabama. Walk us through that play.
Yeah, I mean, just everything happens usually so fast. Just being on the sideline, being ready to, go out there, execute, do my job, and I remember lining up on the ball, looking, the ball snapped, I went, happened to do a power rush, and I have such great players around me, Yanze, LT, Yanze did a great job, forcing the quarterback to bounce out, and basically it just happened to finish on the play, so it felt great.
And especially against Lenora Sellers, that's a hard guy to bring down.
Yeah, definitely a very well elusive quarterback, so it definitely felt great to be able to bring him down.
So that's awesome for Alabama. And you mentioned Yanze Pierre. He was the SEC Defensive Player of the Week the week before, a couple of sacks against Tennessee. How is his pass rush getting better as we go through the year?
I mean, Yanze is probably one of the most versatile rushers that probably in all of college football. I mean, he's always been an elusive guy, really quick, shifty guy, but as of recent, he's really added a lot of power to his arsenal. So it's allowed him to be an extremely well pass rusher, very dynamic and unpredictable. So, I mean, he's really gotten better at his pass rush.
Yeah, we've seen all you guys, it feels like, get better at that pass rush, get in the backfield. You've had the great play against South Carolina, some other great moments throughout the year. What are you most proud of as we talk kind of getting ready for November?
I mean, I'm just more proud of our team's ability to always step up to the table, no matter what, step up to the plate and, hit home runs. That's what it's about. And those big moments, whether it's defense or offense, being able to make those plays, get to the next drive, get to the next play, and come out of those games with a win. I mean, that's probably what I'm most proud of, is coming out of a lot of big environments, where there's a lot of people in there that don't want you to win, but, we're Alabama and that's what we do. So it feels great to come out of those big games with wins.
Yeah, it's been 5 tough weeks in a row with games, 3 of them on the road, Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina. Do you enjoy almost the way this team has approached road games even more based on some of the adversity we've gone through the last few years?
Oh, 100%. I feel with road games, it's a different mindset. Obviously, every week we have the mindset of defeating our opponent in a good fashion, but those road games are always a little bit of a different environment. There's no pats on the back. It's everyone against you. And when you go in those games, it's specifically you against that state. So when we walk into that stadium, that sense of no one here wants us to win honestly makes us want to beat them that much more. And it's like a feeling of, companionship with our brothers that, hey, we're here to do this and we're going to get out of here and go home with the win. So those road games are definitely special.
And how much better does it make that locker room celebration when all you guys get to be back together in a safe place?
Yeah, those locker rooms after those road wins are definitely memories you never forget. Definitely were insane and only something that you have to be there. You just got to be there. But yeah.
That's awesome. Well, again, you guys work so hard at practicing against each other. On the offensive side of the ball, who have you had to go up against a lot in practice? Who's tough to bring down in terms of running backs, wide receivers, and then O-linemen that were really and tight ends that are tough?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of good offensive linemen. Obviously you could say, but Caden Proctor is a extremely big dude. He's a hard individual to, get around, go through, and he's definitely an anchor. But even guys like Parker Brailsford, who are really big leaders, who never mess up, are always there, always in the right spot. Guys like that can bring an offensive line together, and it's allowed for the whole line to be extremely productive and hard to beat. But, I mean, even in the tight end room, I mean, guys like Cuevas, who are just really great footwork, just know what they're doing all the time, can be able to get a good chip block off on you from time to time. They're really sneaky, but also in the pass game, a lot of our tight ends, especially this past week with Cuevas, So, I mean, those are some strong rooms that we have on our team for sure.
And we've seen this offense kind of do some different things in terms of the blocking schemes, different things like that. You guys have to practice against that, so I imagine that makes it even tougher. Yeah, I mean, it's practicing against the offense is not easy, and they're a well-schemed team, or we are a well-schemed offense. They just do a lot of stuff. Coach Grubb is not scared to call anything, and so I think that's a strength for our team, obviously. But when you go up against them, I mean, anything could happen, and I know you could see that with Caden Proctor getting the ball. You think he's going to get in the end zone by the end of the year?
Of course. I have faith in anyone, that Coach Grubb puts in the backfield to get in the end zone, but especially that big of a guy. I mean, it's bound to happen. But yeah, our offense is definitely a very successful, well-schemed team or well-schemed offense.
And then as one of the D linemen on this team, how tight is that group? How competitive is that group in practice and then during ball games?
Yeah, I mean, the defensive line is, I might be biased, but I think it's one of the most, if not the most close-knit group on our team. I mean, that might be my biased opinion. I'm the D lineman, but I think it's just a big brotherhood in there, but also a big thing is holding each other accountable. I think the room is extremely, big on accountability. And, if you got this gap, you got to keep that gap. And if you got that gap, you got to keep that gap. You can't have the mindset of, hey, I have the C gap, but I know the running back's going to come back to the B gap. So I'm just going to say whatever to my job and get the B gap. No, because now you go to the B gap. Now that dude bounces out, he's gone. Or now you go to the B gap, but your teammate's also in the B gap. You run into each other. That's not how those things work. Sorry, I heard no.
You're all good.
But yeah, say you have the C gap. You can't go to the B gap just because the ball's hitting the B gap. If you have the C gap, you have the C gap. And so being accountable is a really big thing in that room. But also on the other end, just being brothers at the end of the day, we know when it's time to lighten up the mood to be able to, hey, that was a good play. But we're never, complacent. We never want to sit there. You don't want to get too many pats on the back. It's not about what you do right now. It's about what you can do the next play consistently. So.
And that's paid off in some of your opportunities for Alabama. Let's back it up a little bit. First of all, tell us where you're from.
I'm from Tampa, Florida. Well, really born and raised in St. Petersburg, but Tampa, Florida. I went to high school, Berkeley Preparatory School, and yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Amazing experience. Great high school football in that town. I mean, that had to make you better.
Oh, I mean, definitely. I've gotten to play some of the best talent in all of the country in high school, as well as a lot of players that have transitioned to college and done extremely well, multiple times in high school. So the competition in Florida is unmatched and has definitely allowed me to better my game.
Yeah, absolutely. When did you really decide to focus on football?
I decided to focus on football, I think, around 9th grade. I think for a while, I always knew I was better at football, but I always kind of also really loved basketball. I don't know about love, but I really liked it, and I happened to play on some really successful basketball teams, but really successful basketball teams with a lot of great players. But I basically knew once I got my first offer around 9th grade that football would more than likely be my destination. Yeah.
Do you enjoy the recruiting process when you're hearing from all these schools all over the country?
I definitely did. Definitely a lot of hard decisions. Recruiting is just one of those things that are extremely, left and right with your mind. But it's a blessing. It's one of those decisions is like, it's a big decision. And so obviously anyone who goes through recruiting in any sort of fashion, whether that's in sports or not, it's a big thing. So it definitely was. But it was a blessing for me. I'm extremely grateful to even have the opportunity to be recruited. So
what made Alabama stand out?
It's Alabama. I think it kind of sells itself from the expectation of being great to the past, success that this team has had, the history, the amount of coaches that have come through this program, developed, and, I think that just speaks for itself. It's Alabama. I don't think there's a lot of recruiting needed to be done, but yeah, it's Alabama.
Did you get a chance to come here, any camps or anything, or official visits?
I never had gone to a camp. I definitely took my official visit. I had been a few times, and always, my visits were always amazing. I remember the Iron Bowl. I had gone to the Iron Bowl, and that wasn't my official visit, but I just gone to the Iron Bowl, and I had gone with my best friend, and I think that was just the visit that 100% made it certain that I knew I was going to come here. And that wasn't even my official. It was just the Iron Bowl, which kind of speaks for itself. It's extremely, heated rivalry and different mindset for that game. So, yeah.
So you make your decision to come here to Alabama, I believe, redshirted in 2023. So you're part of Coach Saban's final teams, and now you're part of the first teams for Coach DeBoer. Just first of all, with Coach Saban, how special was it to get to be in those meeting rooms with him, maybe in the locker rooms with him, for what turned out to be, again, his final year?
Yeah, Coach Saban is an extremely legendary persona, legendary person, but a person that expects greatness and perfection always. There's always something you can work on. And that's really with our whole staff now as well. But Coach Saban, obviously being a well tenured Alabama coach, extremely well proven and extremely successful. Being around him, definitely was a great experience to understand, what greatness looks like and what perfection looks like and what it's like to be expected of that every day, every practice, every meeting. Like that was definitely a big, thing to come in as a freshman and to, be introduced to that. He definitely was a coach that expected perfection and the best out of you, but he knew how to do it in ways that, that made you, understand like, hey, this needs to be done, but like we're here to support you and we want you to be great, but we're not gonna, this takes time and, once you do it, it's gonna pay off. So.
And it's paid off for you. And you have been used in some different roles, even if we go back to 23 when you were a redshirt for a freshman. How has your role in this defense changed? Because you've gotten to go to really several different positions, haven't you?
Yeah, I like to look at it just being a defensive lineman. I feel that's a big thing in our defensive line room is being able to be versatile. That increases your value to the team. If you can do multiple things, I came in as an outside linebacker. Happened to, be switched to bandit just due to simply like, things that happen with football, frame, size, all that stuff, but also strengths. And I see a lot of my strengths can help in the defensive line room, and they saw that as well. And so, being able to be defensive lineman isn't just about being a bandit or about pass rushing. It's about being everywhere on the D-line because they all go hand in hand. If I got to set the edge on the end, well, when I'm playing the 4-eye, I still need to play double teams just like the 3-tech does, just like the nose does. So in those indie drills, I need to learn how to play double teams just like Tim Keenan needs to know how to play double teams, right? And they're not going to change the expectation of a double team just because more time than not, I'm on the edge. But they want my double teams to look the same as Tim Keenan's double teams. And obviously Tim Keenan is probably the hardest dude to move in all of college football. So
besides Caden Proctor.
Right. And and he's the one doing the moving.
That's right.
So, like a lot of those things are in the D-line room, they go hand in hand with every single aspect of being a defensive lineman. So, when you look at the depth chart, or not depth chart, when you look at the roster and it says D-line, that's because we all play D-line. It doesn't show Tim Keenan plays nose or 3. It shows D-line, D-line, D-line. Because we're all one big unit and we all intertwine with our roles.
Did you have to change your body very much going from outside linebacker to D-line?
I'd say a lot of it came naturally just from, you go from high school to college, you get on a different meal plan, a lot more working out, a lot more strenuous expectations on, or not strenuous, but just a lot more expectations on your body and a lot of being able to understand, hey, I got to eat, I got to do this, I got to do that. But a lot of that came natural. Just simply by getting older, but also being in a program that expects nothing but greatness,
Yeah, and you have all the resources to help you at a spot like Alabama, but it's that internal discipline, I imagine, to stick to the nutrition plan plus everything you got to do in the weight room.
Yeah, we have an amazing, team in the cafeteria. What's it called?
At the Mount Ward facility.
Yeah. I forgot the team, the nutrition staff. We have an amazing nutrition staff that is extremely, extremely on us for making sure we get our nutritious, our vitamins, all of our requirements, so that we can maximize our growth and our benefits for our body to be the best player on the field. And so when you have such a supporting staff off the field, you're going to see those results on the field, and so that's the expectation.
It was really fun for the Alabama-Tennessee game a few weeks ago. We saw Coach DeBoer more fired up coming out of the tunnel than we had ever seen him before. Yeah. Was he that fired up in those moments before the doors
100%,
opened?
100%. Coach DeBoer has definitely stepped into he's been like this, but he's 100% started to show it, walking through the tunnel, things like that. We've seen this from him for a while. We know he's always been riled up and extremely motivated for every game, of course. But especially this season. He's always expected nothing but perfection, obviously. But you guys are starting to see that now through his emotions, and we've seen it. But it's good that everyone's started to see it as well, because that's our coach, and he does that every day at practice. He does that every day, And I'm happy to have that as my coach because there's nothing better than seeing Coach DeBoer get riled up. Because I know you guys see him as probably one of the nicest dudes. I mean, maybe like with his interviews and at all these conferences. But, I mean, hey, he's a coach at the end of the day. He's going to let you know when you need to get better. And if that's not the standard that he wants you to play at, I mean, it's basically like he's like another. I mean, he also has a standard of Nick Saban. Like, he knows the program that he's at, and he's an amazing coach, and I love what he does, and I'm just really thankful to have him as a coach.
And you love that black hoodie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's definitely become like this thing, but at the same time, I mean, the black hoodie is just something that, you know, fans might love, and I know obviously he goes into wearing the hoodie, but in general, we're Alabama, and we're always expected to win, and whether the black hoodie or not, Coach DeBoer and our goal is always to go defeat the opponent in front of us in a great fashion.
Oh, and that Tennessee game specific, you got to do that. How much did you enjoy the cigar tradition? Were you able to go out from the locker room, celebrate with the students?
I definitely did have the opportunity to go out and celebrate with the students. That's my second time. And so this time I definitely embraced it even more, and having been a little bit older this time. And so definitely felt great to be out there with students. Also, you know, the tradition of the cigar. I always remember, like, late in the games in those fourth quarters, you know, once we've done what we needed to do, obviously the game's never over, but once we put ourselves in the best likely, you know, position to win the game, you can just start to see the smoke fill the stadium, and you could smell it. I remember in the Tennessee game, that last drive when we held them to that goal line stand, the whole stadium was full of smoke. I mean, you were on the sideline, and that was like a drive. That wasn't like obviously they were going tempo. So, I mean, you know, guys are catching their breaths, and the whole stadium is filled with cigar smoke on the sideline. I'm smelling it too, and I'm like, dang, like these dudes are out here are on a goal line stand, and the oxygen is filled with cigar smoke. So that definitely is a part of the tradition, but it makes it just that much more better.
Well, it was really special, and again, it's what part of makes this place really special. Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. We'll let you go on this. We got some huge home games coming up.
Yes, sir.
How important are the fans going to be during this stretch?
Oh, every game. I mean, the fans are one of the more important things that the whole state of Alabama needs. I mean, when those fans come out, I mean, it's insane. Our atmosphere at our stadium is unmatched, and hearing our fans in those moments, I mean, that Tennessee game when Zabian caught that 99-yard pick six, that was the loudest I've ever heard the stadium. And, you know, I obviously was in the stadium for the Ryan Williams touchdown against Georgia. But when our fans are, I mean, they always are. Not but as if they aren't. They always are. I'm just letting you know, like, our fans are so important. And it's honestly a thing that, you know, obviously gets us riled up. We're always riled up to go play because that's our mindset. But, I mean, like I said, away games, there's no pats on the back. But when you're in a home game and this is our home, we're not going to let nobody come in front of our fans. And, you know, we don't want to let anybody come in front of our fans and disappoint them. We're here to show out, but also be disciplined and win every single game. And those fans definitely help us.
Doing a good job of it during your Alabama career. Keon, Keeley, appreciate your time with us here today on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. All the best the rest of the year. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Roll Tide.
We're excited for Alabama against Oklahoma on Saturday, and to get ready for the ball game, the best party is going to be at Vector Security Champions Lane. You know where it is, just outside the Walk of Champions on the corner of Wallace Wade and University Boulevard. Look for us on stage at the Bud Light Backyard, and coming up at 12:30, Joe Nichols will be rocking the stage. He has had such a great career in country music. Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off, all the great hits, Broken Heartsville. You can all hear it right there from Joe Nichols. It's going to be a fun pregame concert with him. Again, it's going to start at 12:30. Vector Security Champions Lane will be busy as well with food trucks, all kinds of activations that you have to check out, some autographs as well from Alabama student athletes. But the main draw is, of course, going to be Joe Nichols coming up at 12:30. And don't forget about Legends Lounge, the beer garden. Never a covered charge there. That'll get you in the right spirits for Joe Nichols coming up at 12:30, and then the football game after that. We can't wait to have Joe Nichols coming to Vector Security Champions Lane on stage at the Bud Light Backyard this Saturday. Huge week coming up for the Crimson Tide, but also a lot to look back on from this past weekend with the basketball win against St. John's as well as the football win against LSU. So it's perfect time to visit with the voice of the Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart, get his thoughts on football and basketball, plus everything he wants to see from this fan base. A couple challenges to the fan base coming up in this video. I think you'll enjoy hearing once again on Tuesdays, as we are always joined by the voice of the Crimson Tide, Chris Stewart.
Got a lot to talk about, not just football, but some basketball as well. It's a good time here at the University of Alabama.
Boy, it is. Again, as Nate Oates said, well, we got to be a football school or a basketball school. Can't we just be a championship school? And that's what the Tide's been. And certainly playing at a championship level in football and in men's basketball. Didn't have the best outing, but got it done. And not ever going to take a victory over LSU lightly, despite the struggles that they've had as of late.
Absolutely. And with this football team, yes, offensively, maybe fans wanted to see a little more in the second half, but still made some winning plays. And then the defense, Chris, all throughout that game, made winning plays and got the football back for the Crimson Tide.
Well, they did. I go back to the first quarter. There was a stretch there when LSU could have gotten some real momentum. We had a sequence where the Tide, really got it across midfield, didn't get points, turned it over on downs, and then after the team swap punts, LSU's got the ball and pick up a first down, and all of a sudden, it seems like they've got a little momentum, but on the very same play where they got the first down, a great play to, I think it was Nakai Hill-Green that knocked the ball loose and punched it loose and then recovered it, and just a great play. We only got 3 out of it, but I thought it kind of set the tone and that the defense had the offense covered. Get us a little bit, and we got you the rest of the way, and that's what they did. 20 points for the offense, below their average and their standard, but the defense holding LSU to just 9. They had one big play that covered one big run that covered 50-plus yards, but they only finished with about 60 or less than that rushing for the ball game. So a great job of making sure that a subpar night offensively was still going to be plenty good enough to get the job done and move on to what's obviously a massive game this weekend against Oklahoma.
Yeah, and it sounded like on the Keon DeBoer TV show that you did, the radio interview as well. I mean, Coach DeBoer, again, really happy with the win, but still kind of looking at the things Alabama could do better. And that gives, I think, a lot of fans some encouragement going into a matchup like this against Oklahoma, is that the focus was already, even in the moments that ball game was over, focus was on practice and what has to happen next.
It was. And if you saw the TV show and heard the radio show last week, you saw that the fan base responded to their challenge from the coach and were such a huge part. I think 7 procedure penalties that the offense had for LSU, and I know that's been a bit of an issue for them, but to make sure that the energy level, the noise level was making it very difficult for them to get into any type of rhythm offensively, and the fans really did their part, and they'll need to do so against Oklahoma. You're right. The message right after the game went to, we've got things clearly we've got to clean up, but at the same time, we're going to move on and get excited about Oklahoma, and that won't take much energy or much coaxing to get everybody fired up, players or fans, for this matchup against the Sooners, certainly based on what happened last year in Norman, but also with what's at stake if you can find a way to get a victory against OU this Saturday.
Yeah, tough one last year in Norman, but for this season, Oklahoma looks much improved, especially at the quarterback position. And Chris, as always, we know how good Brent Venables is on the defensive side of the ball.
He is, and he's got them really good defensively again. But John Mateer is a guy that didn't hit, very much like Garrett Nussmeier, has not had the season that was anticipated for him. But like Nussmeier, when at his best, is still incredibly dangerous and as good as there is. And he is more of the mobile type quarterback that has given Alabama some trouble at times. But he's a better passer, I think, than Diego Pavia. He is a better passer than the guy we faced from South Carolina. He's a really, really talented thrower in addition to being a threat with his legs. So the defense has their work cut out for them, and the offense obviously has to be much sharper than it was this past weekend, and clearly has to be better than they were last year when they took on the Sooners, and unfortunately had a loss that by and large kept them out of the college football playoff.
Well, we shift gears now to basketball. And again, it was such a great start to Saturday, the win for the Crimson Tide in Madison Square Garden over St. John's. And now we get to come home to Coleman Coliseum. And Chris, it's another top 5 matchup, another number 1 team we get to see in Purdue. What a week it's going to be for Nate Oates and this Crimson Tide team that we're still learning a lot about in these early games, but they're already playing at such a high level.
Yeah, the FAA is the only thing that was able to stop the Tide basketball team this weekend because, as you know, the plan was the schedule was going to work out great for them to be back and land in Tuscaloosa around the first quarter and have a deserved hero's welcome after a great win at Syracuse, in New York against St. John's that was going to really provide a great marketing opportunity to promote that game against Purdue coming up on Thursday. The fact that they had to sit on the tarmac for longer than the game itself lasted is the only negative from that day, but expecting a great crowd, a great environment, and hopefully another great performance, which would produce, we think, another great result against a tremendous Purdue team on Thursday night.
You enjoyed seeing these newcomers play such a large role in this Alabama attack? Yeah,
because you knew that not only were you losing Mark Sears and Grant Nelson, but you lost 2 other major contributors, and maybe more than that. You know how memory is, but Jaron Stevenson and Mo Diabate going to North Carolina and Kentucky, respectively. Those are 4 major cogs in the wheel in that Final Four team and the Elite 8 squad that you got to find a way to replace him. We're still going to go, and thankfully LeBaron Philon came back. That was one starting point that turned out to be massive to get him back, clearly with what he's done. But the young guys have picked up the slack in such a major way and have been the role players you need to go with veterans like LeBaron, like Latrell Wrightsell, like Aiden Holloway, and the pickup of Taylor Bowen and what he was able to do on the biggest of stages on Saturday. Just really great to see. And this team has an opportunity to be special once again. One victory doesn't make or break the season, certainly not in November, but it certainly gives you a preview of what they can be. And hopefully what they can be is what they will be on Thursday night, and what will be a fantastic environment and a national stage once again for Alabama men's basketball under Nate Oates.
It's going to be a fun week. Hey, Coach, on Wednesday, the men's game against Purdue coming up on Thursday, and then all the football stuff coming on Saturday as well. Chris, you're going to be busy, but hopefully calling some great moments for the Crimson Tide. We just appreciate the time you've given us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Roll Tide.
Yeah, we got to do our job. I mean, Kurt set the bar with filling in for us, and now I got Purdue and you got Illinois next Wednesday. So we got to get some things done here on the hardwood and keep getting it done on the gridiron as well. But excited about it, and Roll Tide, Roger.
I'm Jens A. Pierre, and here we're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Chris Stewart, of course, a former sideline reporter here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, but his tenure on the sidelines was not nearly as long as Jerry Duncan, who had that role for 24 years. Jerry, of course, was a great player for the Crimson Tide in the 60s, playing for the legendary head coach Paul Bear Bryant. Won 2 national championships, really should have won a third in 1966, but that's another story for another day. But this weekend, we are honoring the 1965 national championship team, the 60th anniversary of that championship won under Coach Bryant. Jerry Duncan joins us now to talk about that team, plus his very unique journey from Sparta, North Carolina to Tuscaloosa, and then everything that's happened since then in the wonderful life of Jerry Duncan. Jerry, it's great to see you. We're going to dial it back to 1965 this weekend, celebrate your national championship team. You excited to get back to Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be a wonderful occasion. It's it's a happy thing, Roger, and then it's a sad thing because we've lost so many great teammates off that team that have gone on. But we're looking forward to it. We got about 20, I think, coming back. So we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. A lot of great memories.
We're certainly excited for all of it. And for you, let's go back to the very beginning of your journey to Alabama. Tell us where you're from and how you eventually made your way to the Capstone.
Well, I'll make a long story short. I was my senior year in high school. I was a halfback to start with. I weighed about 165 pounds, and I came from a little small town up in the northwest corner of North Carolina, Sparta, North Carolina, and didn't have a lot of coaches coming up to watch our games play. It was Sparta is the county seat is Allegheny County, which is the smallest county in the state of North Carolina. It's still the smallest county in the state of North Carolina. But anyway, my high school coach at the end of in June, or actually about July of 1962, went to a coaching clinic down in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Coach Paul Bryant was the keynote speaker at this coaching clinic. And I don't know how my high school coach did it, but he convinced Coach Bryant that he ought to take a look at me and take a chance on me. And so at that time, I had not been offered a scholarship at all. I was going to probably walk on at Lenore Ryan or maybe Appalachian State, some small school, just to try to get a scholarship. So, because I was a first generation kid, and no one in my family had been to college. So anyway, long story short, about a week later, I got a call from Coach Bryant after my high school coach got back, and he said, "I'm hoping you're going to hear from Alabama." So anyway, Coach Bryant calls, and he said, "I'm going to send a coach up to North Carolina to talk to you about coming to Alabama." And he said, "The only thing I'd ask you to promise me you won't sign with another Southeastern Conference school until my assistant gets up there." And I said, "Well, Coach, I won't. I promise you, I won't sign with another Southeastern Conference school." So anyway, long story short, Coach Griska comes up, and they didn't have any film on me. They'd never seen me play. I mean, it was just one of those things that just pure luck. And Coach Bryant decided to take a chance on me, and that's that's kind of the end of that story. But then when I got to Alabama, I remember telling Coach Griska that he had a national championship ring on, 1961 national championship ring. And I told him, I said, I sure would like to get a ring like that. And he said, "Well, he said they're not easy to come by, but he said, if you come to Alabama and you work hard and you do the things you're supposed to do, you might have a chance." So there we go.
Yeah, it certainly worked out getting you some rings. But how about finding a position? That took a little bit of time, but eventually you did find a home at tackle.
Yeah. It took a long time. Yeah, I was down there with such great players. Steve Sloan, Kenny Stabler, Paul Crane, Steve Bowman. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean, I'm talking about just really great players. And I was just kind of lost in the weeds. And of course, Leroy Jordan was a senior my freshman year, and I was moved around. I put a few pounds on. They moved me from halfback to fullback, and then when I got to fullback, I was competing with Steve Bowman, Les Keeley, and I think Jackie Sherrill was signed as a fullback also. So anyway, it didn't take me long to figure out I wasn't going to be playing much at fullback, and then I moved in my redshirt year. They moved me to blocking back, which was nothing more than a glorified. It was kind of like the guy on the single wing, but we didn't obviously didn't run the single wing, but yeah, had a blocking back, and I'd got up to probably maybe 175, 180 pounds, and anyway, made it through the redshirt year, and then the next year would have been 1964, which was that was when Joe Namath was quarterback that year, and that's when we went undefeated during the season, and then got beat by Texas in the Orange Bowl. So one poll voted us national champions and one poll voted Texas, I think it was, national champion. But anyway, I played. I didn't play that much. I played on special teams, kickoffs, receiving, punts, stuff like that, and got in a little bit of playing time. But it already by that time they had moved me to guard, and so anyway. Fast forward over to the spring of '65, and we're going out to. I'd been moved to. Like I said, I've been moved to guard, and then we were going out to the practice on the practice field, and Coach Bryant told me that he wanted me to go down and see Howard Schnellenberger, who was coaching the offensive line at that time, and he said, "I want you tell Coach Schnellenberger I'm moving you to tackle today, and that I'm his responsibility." So. Fast forward, I went down and they moved me to tackle, and then we had when I reported back, I had a pretty good spring. I mean, I caught on to it pretty good, and Coach Schnellenberger stayed with me. I mean, he really pushed me. He just lived with me practically. We watched film together all the time, and I think he made up his mind he was going to make me a tackle, or he was going to run me off, one or the other. So anyway. Came back and reported back in the fall of August of '65, and you had to run a mile. You were required to make a mile run when you got back, and the starting tackle did not make the mile, and Coach Bryant would not give anybody a uniform that didn't make the mile. So anyway, the guy ends up leaving the team. So then I went from third to second, and the other guy moved up to first. And then about 3 days in practice, the first string tackle blew his knee out. And so here I am, moved up to tackle, getting ready to go to Athens to play Georgia. And I was really happy about it, and I was scared about it. So I didn't know whether I was going to make it or not, to be quite honest with you. But anyway, because of Schnellenberger and he pushed me and ended up after even though we went to Athens and got beat on the famous flea flicker play where the guy's knee was on the ground, but it doesn't make any difference. We lost. That's the bottom line, and we really weren't as good as we were projected to be. We had been projected to be pretty high in the polls. Maybe might even start out at number one. I don't know. But anyway, we got beat, and we Coach Bryant really worked that team really hard. We had some really close games. Matter of fact, we were, in that second or third game, we played Ole Miss in Birmingham, and we were behind 10-0 at the half, and I mean, it would have been the disaster if we had. But anyway, we didn't have a disaster. We came back and won the game, and we then started getting just a little bit better and a little bit better, and then we, that's the famous year where Steve Sloan got hurt. Kenny Stabler comes in. He's playing against Tennessee. We're down on the 10-yard line and threw the ball out of bounds on fourth down to stop the clock, and the game ends in a tie. And we had fumbled. We fumbled twice inside the 10. It was just one of those games where we did everything right till we got down to scoring to the red zone, and then we couldn't do anything right. So bottom line is we end up a tie there. So we're struggling. I mean, but then, like I said, we were getting better, and we got better, and we got better, and then all of a sudden, the last 2 or 3 games, I guess it was been LSU and Auburn and somebody else in there, but we won out, and then we got really lucky the way it worked out when we went back to the Orange Bowl. We were ranked 4th behind Nebraska, who was 3rd, and then 1 and 2 got beat on New Year's Day, which means we're playing for the national championship, and just got real lucky and played against a great Nebraska team, and I think if you went back and looked at it, I believe we onside kicked. We had to keep the ball because they were real good offensively, and so I may be telling you more than you want to hear. But anyway, we ended up beating Nebraska 39-28, and it was just a great victory, great season. But it didn't start out so great. But that's the way it is.
Yeah, that's the team we're going to celebrate this weekend. And I'm sure as you keep up with Crimson Tide football, you have loved the way this season the offensive staff has gotten Caden Proctor, left tackle, involved in all sorts of offensive plays, lining him up in the backfield, the wildcat position. For you as a tackle, you were also used in Alabama's offensive attack, a play that maybe isn't as legal these days, but it certainly worked out to your favor and Alabama's favor back in the 60s.
Yeah, I sure want to meet Caden sometime. He's quite a guy. I was look somebody. I've got all kinds of people have asked me if I've met him, and I think he's like 6'6", 6'7", and weighs about 366 pounds or something like that. So I might be the size of one of his legs, but I sure would like to meet him sometime. I'm really proud of him because that the play over there. Matter of fact, I was in Athens when they threw that first pass.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it was a pass. It was a lateral, I guess. But it didn't matter. He ran over about 4 or 5 guys, and if he'd have just broken to the right there, he'd have scored a touchdown. But it worked out. It was a great play, great call by the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it really was. And again, Alabama was able to use you in some creative ways as well. And that was part of the genius of Coach Bryant, wasn't it? The fact that he was always looking for that cutting edge. He changed things so dramatically with the wishbone offense in the next decade, but he was always looking for what was next in football, wasn't he?
He was always looking, and he loved the tackle eligible play. And see, back then, it was really hard the way it was designed. The split end out on the split end side was Dennis Holman, and the flanker out on Dennis Holman was a flanker. Excuse me. Ray Perkins was a split end out on my side, and so all you did was Dennis went out and lined up a yard off the line, and Ray moved a yard back, and Holman moved a yard up, and that made me eligible. I'm having a hard time explaining this. After 60 years, you'd think I could remember the tackle eligible. But anyway, so the defensive backs really weren't concerned about the tackle. They were worried about Holman and Perkins because they could outrun the wind. And we had so much success with that play. And Coach Bryant just loved it. He loved to run it against Ole Miss because Johnny Ball was always raising hell about the tackle eligible play. They need to get rid of the tackle eligible play. And in the end, I think it was like 67, 68, they actually did change the rule on it to where it was much harder it was not so deceptive but now like with Proctor, I mean, I don't know what I'd do if I had to go out there and cover him as big as he is. That would be I'd be worried about him running over me, I guess. But man, it was great to see that play. I love the tackle eligible play, obviously, and we had great success with it in the Nebraska game, the 1965 game, that we won 39-28. First 2 plays of the game, we ran a tackle eligible play and picked up some yardage. So it was fun. It was fun.
Absolutely. Well, again, you got to play for the legend, Coach Paul Bear Bryant. Alabama does a great job celebrating his legacy with everything at the Bryant Museum and still recognizing him each and every game day. But for you, what are the things that you take with you into your everyday life that meant the most, some of the most important lessons he gave you?
Well, I mean, I can't even, I don't even know where I would start. I don't know where I would be today if it weren't, and I've said this many times before, where I would be today without Coach Bryant and without the University of Alabama. I mean, he absolutely took a chance on me. And we had a lot of kids down there. That 65 team, it was supposed to be a lot better than we started off. And Coach Bryant has said this many times. I remember him saying it on his TV program. He said, these guys are not very good, but they don't know they're not any good. He said, and I'm not going to tell them. And he would say that to the sports writers every once in a while. And but I mean, it's really hard, Roger, because here's a guy. He was a guy that just took an absolute chance on me. He just, I hadn't been offered a scholarship. Weighed 165 pounds. And I don't know what to deal with, but the will to win, and he always used to say, everybody wants to win, but do you got to have you got to have the will to pay the price to win. And believe me, this 65 group that's coming in there, they paid a price, because this was back in the days, Roger, when we would have one water break, practicing 115 degrees heat, and everybody would line up on the 50-yard line about halfway through practice, and they come down, the trainers and the managers would come down and give everybody a piece of ice and a salt tablet, and then you go back and practice for another hour and a half. But I mean, he just knew how to handle people. He knew when to press, and he knew when to back up a little bit. And he drove us hard. I'll say that. We always called Coach Brown a Tysaurus Rex, because he could be a bad guy, but he could be a great guy too. And I'll always remember the great times. I'll tell you that.
That's certainly good. Well, great times for you, as well as on the Crimson Tide Sports Network as our longtime sideline reporter of 24 years. How much did you enjoy keeping that connection with the Alabama fans with us on the radio during all that time?
It was fantastic. And the thing about it, Roger, those first 10 years, when I started, those first 10 years were with Coach Bryant, and maybe 10 to 12 years, maybe. And I wouldn't have given anything for that. Just being, and I was in the dressing room with them, and in the coaches' room where they all were, and you could just sit around and listen to them talk about the game plan, and what we were going to try to do defensively, what we were going to try to do offense. I wouldn't take anything in the world for that, and working with all the great crew that some of them are still down there. I don't know if some of those guys are ever going to retire. And tell Chris Stewart hello from me. And the engineer, what's
Tom Stipe, Butch Owens,
Stipe.
We still got him going, yeah.
Yeah, is Tom Stipe ever going to retire?
I hope not. I don't want to have to do any of that.
I know it. Please tell all of them hello. Yeah, matter of fact, I owe Chris a call. Yeah, it was just great. I mean, and I also, I had the pleasure. Of course, Ray came in after Coach Brown, and I'd played with Ray, so that was a real good experience. And then right on up to I think I got out the year sometime in there when Coach Stallings was around. So, but it was just a great experience, and wouldn't take anything in the world for it. All the Alabama fans have been so good to me, and matter of fact, I'm looking forward to seeing some of them this coming weekend. I hope we can run the ball against Oklahoma. That they got a great defense. But I know we can throw the ball. This Ty Simpson guy is just unbelievable. Got some great receivers. Let's go get that. We got to get that offensive line up. We got to get old Proctor to blocking a little bit, okay? And tell me to quit thinking about catching passes.
Or throwing a touchdown pass, which I keep hoping to see.
Right.
But yeah.
That's right.
Well, Jerry, it has been a blast catching up with you. We could spend another hour talking to you, but just appreciate the time you've given us, and look forward to seeing you and your teammates in Tuscaloosa this weekend. But thank you for your time. Roll Tide.
Absolutely, Roger. Thank you. Roll Tide.
This is Red Morgan. You're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Such a fun conversation with Jerry Duncan. Wish him all the best. Can't wait to see him and his teammates from 1965 honored coming up this week before Alabama and Oklahoma. Of course, last night we had Crimson Tide Rewind across the Crimson Tide Sports Network, always starting our week of programming here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And Tyler Watts and I always have a fun time in front of a very enthusiastic crowd at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills, breaking down Alabama against LSU. You'll get our thoughts on that game. Plus, Tyler looks ahead as well to what's coming up on Saturday between Alabama and Oklahoma. You can watch the full version of Crimson Tide Rewind on our replay on the YouTube channel, CTSN YouTube channel, but this is the best of kind of last night, something we like to call Be Kind, Crimson Tide Rewind.
Coming off the off week, you didn't know what exactly to expect as LSU makes a change at the head position, gets rid of Brian Kelly. You knew that locker room would be fired up and ready to come into Tuscaloosa and play, and that defensive unit for LSU is as good as we have probably seen all season long. They just can consistently, it seems like week out and week in, week out, we get the best look of every defense that we go against. But this offensive unit was able to put up enough points to give a comfortable win. But
it's still the play of the defense, in my opinion, that has really been carrying the weight of this football team as they're just play relentless, stripping the ball, putting it on the deck, getting turnovers. We were plus in the turnover margin once again, and when you consistently have that recipe, you're going to find yourselves on top more than not. So a really good victory, forcing 3 field goals, not giving up any points in the end zone. It's just a heck of a performance by that defensive unit. But coming out of the off week, we knew it was a 4-game stretch down that we had to win in order to put ourselves in an opportunity to make the playoffs, and we're one step closer.
One step closer. Again, the Crimson Tide pick up the 20-9 victory over LSU this past Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Alabama had a 17-3 lead at halftime. A nice, once again, right before halftime to get a key touchdown like we saw.
Yeah, we talked about the time management of LSU. With just over a minute to go, Alabama had no timeouts. They elect to throw the football, goes incomplete. It stops the clock, 56 seconds. We're able to get great field position, and then 3 plays later, Ty Simpson finds Ryan Williams for the touchdown right before half. I mean, heck of a drive. You know, the ball in hand with this offensive unit, regardless of how much time, you always feel you have an opportunity to move the ball down the field and at least give yourself a chance to put yourself in a position to put points on the board.
Certainly saw that for the Crimson Tide. 3 points for Alabama in the second half of that ball game. Crimson Tide with 344 yards of total offense. Once again, a solid performance by Ty Simpson, 277 yards through the air. The rushing attack, 56 yards in this ball game. A lot of people talking about Alabama's running game, as we'll continue to dive into that over the next hour.
Yeah, it's a point of emphasis down in Tuscaloosa right now as this coaching staff continues to try to find ways to be more productive in the running attack, because they understand the importance of it to be balanced. And a lot of times there is some penetration that's going on up front, but other times the running backs just aren't hitting the holes, making their own hole and making a 2 or 3 yard gain. That's a positive. So it's something you have to continue to work on throughout the course of the season. It's not going to fix itself overnight, but hopefully you can gradually just get a little bit better. We got to be able to rush for 100, 150 yards a game if we're going to put ourselves in a place where we want to be, which is competing for championships.
Certainly want to be competing for championships. Crimson Tide pick up another key win in the SEC race to improve to 6-0 in conference play. The winning streak continues as well for this football team that once again finds ways to play with confidence. Again, the outcome never really seemed in doubt this past week.
No, Alabama was definitely in control the entire game. You know, take the opening drive, march it right down the field. Unfortunately, you turn it over on downs as LSU is able to make the stop around the 35-40 yard line. And then defensively, we get pushed around, but we give up a field goal opportunity that they miss. So no harm on the series there. And then Alabama, the offense kind of took over after that. A couple of nice chunk plays as they're able to get ahead. What was it, tied 3-3 at one point? I think that was as close as LSU ever got.
Again, the Crimson Tide pick up the win, 20-9, the final score against the LSU Tigers this past Saturday. What'd you see from Crimson Tide quarterback Ty Simpson in this ballgame?
You know what? It wasn't one of his better performances, but it wasn't horrible either. I mean, it was just a good, solid performance. He hit a couple of passes across the middle, as he consistently does and has throughout the course of this season. He's pretty doggone good, though, when he gets clean pocket. And that's something we talked about in the broadcast. Early on, a couple of third and long situations, LSU brought some real unique looks where they were kind of all over the place defensively, off the ball, brought safeties down. You didn't really know where the pressure was going, and as you're trying to slide the line one way or another, it's kind of a guessing game. And that's why it's so important to get up the line, get the look, adjust to the protection, and try to get it going. But we didn't always pick it up early on, and there were still some open receivers, but we were forced to punt as a result of it. But I thought as the game progressed, the offensive line settled in. They did a much better job of picking up some of those exotic looks and allowing a clean pocket for Ty Simpson to be able to navigate in. The only issue that he ran into was when Harold Perkins applied the pressure and got the strip sack. That's one where Ty has to be strong with the football. He has got to, when he feels pressure, he has got to secure that ball with 2 hands and make sure that he does not turn that over, because that's 2 consecutive games where pressure has come and he has lost the ball inside the pocket. You can't do that because you're right around the 50-yard line or close to there. You're within 20 yards or so of scoring position, so you can't afford that. But Lottie Brooks, he hit him on a deep over. That was a beautiful throw that Lottie was able to turn the burners on and really go after and get. but still missing a couple of other opportunities downfield. Had Jeremy Bernard wide open that would have been a touchdown, overthrew him. Had Lottie Brooks again where he underthrew him. So you really just want to throw a catchable ball, I think, is the biggest thing. And sometimes knowing the situation and working across the middle of the field, sometimes you don't have to lead a receiver. It's just sticking it right between the numbers, making sure the big tight end like Edwards, he had one that got knocked away across the middle. You just stick it on the big tight end. He takes that hit from a safety if he's not running into the ball, and he secures it, and it's probably a first down. So it's little things like that. And every game, regardless of what level you play at and how good you are, you're going to have a couple of those throws that you wish you had back, that you missed just a little bit. But he continues to throw the ball in the right place, survey the field, understand what the defense does. And as long as he continues to do that, we're going to put ourselves in position to win.
How frustrating can that be as a quarterback when, again, you feel like you're just a little bit off one reason or another, like you mentioned, a couple overthrows, a couple underthrows in a game like that?
Well, you just have to keep pressing, and that's what he did so good versus South Carolina when nothing was going right. For 3 solid quarters, he was able to put a couple of drives together and really hit those guys in rhythm. And it ended up being the difference in us winning and potentially walking out of there with a loss. So, look, he's a fighter. He's a battler. He gets frustrated with himself, but he also understands you learn from it. That was a previous play. You got to move on to the next one because there's going to be another opportunity in this system, in this offense, to make some more explosive plays.
I don't know, LSU certainly has not had the year they want to have, but is this still one of the better defenses Alabama's played all season long?
They are definitely up there. We're going to see another good one this weekend. I thought Missouri had a really good defense, as well as did South Carolina, caused some problems with some of their personnel matchups, and that will continue once again versus Oklahoma. And I think the good thing about it is when you're every single week seeing good talent line up across from you, you get into that rhythm as an offensive line and as running backs in protection of understanding you're not surprised by the speed or the power that your opponent is coming up against you with. This is what we're accustomed to. This is the speed and how we play. We see it every week, and you adjust to it. And I think as a result of that, we've gotten better in protection.
Jeremy Bernard continues to be that go-to player.
Oh, my. That's the only thing we missed from Chris on that one. He does such a good job. Sure-handed. I think we've only seen 1 or 2 drops all season long out of number 5, and he's just kind of the Swiss Army knife is what we like to call him, because the opening play of the game, he lines up in the backfield in a running back position, rotates out, and he just gives you a ton of different looks. And the ball in his hands after the catch, always making guys miss, picking up an extra 5 or 6 yards. Just a huge asset for this team.
It really is. So Alabama will take on Oklahoma this week. More on that in a second. Did quickly want to get your thoughts on another game in the SEC coming up this Saturday. Mentioned Georgia picking up steam. Texas starting to look a little bit better as well. That's coming up at 6:30 from Athens. The Longhorns and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Offensively, they look so much better, obviously, than they did in the opener versus Ohio State. And you're going to be looking back at the end of the year going, how did they lose to Florida? That's where you're going to be scratching your head, because they have gotten better and better every single week. But this will by far be their toughest opponent over the last several weeks. I mean, they dominated Oklahoma, which was a little bit of a shock. But Steve Sarkisian, you knew if he could just continue to develop his quarterback, get a little bit better protection, he has a really good defense, they're going to be competitive going into Athens.
That'll be entertaining to watch after our game, of course, coming up at 2:30. Our radio coverage will start at 11:30 on Saturday across the network outside of the Bud Light backyard. Inside Vector Security Champions Lane, it's the Crimson Tide against the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma 7-2 on the year, 3-2 in the SEC, and just on paper and on tape look a lot improved from the team that beat Alabama last year.
They do. Offensively, with the addition of Mateer, I mean, it's just a much more efficient offense. You wonder how dominant they've kind of had their struggles running the football as well, though, as their quarterback is really their leading rusher. At least it seems that way. But he is healing up from that hand injury that he had. It got a couple of nice weapons at wide receiver that can hurt you in the intermediate stuff. They don't really have anybody that's going to take the top off, so you don't have to worry about that. But Alabama does such a good job against the deep ball anyway that wasn't necessarily a concern. I think the biggest issue, though, is how the Alabama offense stacks up versus this Oklahoma defense. Last year, that's where the issue was. As a pick six and 1 or 2 scoring drives that Oklahoma had against our defense, we just didn't get enough offensive production last year. That was the biggest issue. We just went in a hole, and didn't do anything all night long. That's something that's going to have to improve upon. I know that that's been a point of emphasis, changing up the signals, being the aggressor, making sure you're getting rid of the football quickly. But more importantly, when you have open people, hitting them, making it first downs, moving the chain, stacking plays on top of plays, something Coach DeBoer loves to talk about. We hadn't seen it the last couple of weeks. It's going to be key, though, versus Oklahoma. And once again, the environment, the fans, and the energy that they bring of keeping that pressure on Oklahoma, because they don't want to be playing from behind either. I mean, they would love to win this football game scoring 20, 21 points. We got to make sure that we get to 30 from here on out.
Certainly do, and something that would help that would be the running game. Is this the game that the running back comes back again?
Probably
it's obviously
not.
tough because of how good Oklahoma
Probably
is on
not.
D-line.
But you don't know. You also don't know. Are we going to find something? Are we going to be able to stretch them out horizontally and really get those linebackers and defensive front loosened up and then attack them? I know Tennessee had some running opportunities that they were successful in. They really moved the ball up and down the field, just couldn't score enough points because of turnovers. So there are opportunities there. It's just you have to be aggressive. You have to be intentional and just keep the foot on the pedal and not lose that intensity.
And for this Crimson Tide defense, really good at takeaways, whether it's forcing fumbles and then a fair share of interceptions as well. And John Mateer, 8 touchdowns, but 6 interceptions this season.
And hopefully we can confuse him a little bit, take advantage of a beat-up offensive line that Oklahoma consistently every year seems to have. Of course, they were able to piece it together, but can we keep the pressure on them? You can disrupt him, but you got to maintain him because he loves to pull it down, and he will kill you with his legs.
And that would be tough to see for Alabama going up against Oklahoma, trying to slow down this Oklahoma team that, like we mentioned, 7-2 on the season. A couple of losses for them against Texas as well as Ole Miss, but kind of like the Vanderbilt discussion a little bit ago, if Oklahoma wins this ball game, they're right in the mix of the playoffs as well.
Just like Vanderbilt. I mean, they're just right there knocking on the outside looking in. You're just wondering where their big wins. Of course, they win versus us. That's a big win for Oklahoma. We got to make sure that doesn't happen, though. And I'm telling you, coming out of the gates quick, scoring touchdowns, not settling for field goals is going to be key.
I always enjoyed time at Baumhauer's in Vestavia Hills with Crimson Tide Rewind. Speaking of Baumhauer's, that is our next destination as we take a look at our upcoming schedule. Baumhauer's in Tuscaloosa tomorrow night. Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show presented by Alpha Insurance beginning at 6 o'clock all across the network as we look forward to visiting with Coach DeBoer, getting ready for Alabama against Oklahoma. Thursday, we'll be back with this show, Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, coming up at 2 o'clock. And then later on that evening, the airtime will be 5 o'clock, tip-off 6 p.m. for Alabama men's basketball against Purdue. A top 10 matchup, Alabama number 8, the Boilermakers number 2 in the nation. On our full radio network, Varsity Network app, don't forget to watch our basketball booth cam as well, presented by NASCAR. Then coming up on Saturday, Alabama football against the Oklahoma Sooners. 11:30 will be our start time. We'll be outside at Vector Security Champions Lane. We'll have more Champions Lane details coming up on our Thursday show, but remember, Joe Nichols will be in concert coming up after we're done, coming up at 12:30, and then the kickoff at 2:30 between Alabama and Oklahoma. And then after that, we will have Crimson Tide Rewind again next Monday night, and then women's basketball against Alabama A&M. For the very latest on the Crimson Tide, make sure you follow us at UA_CTSN, especially if you're watching on YouTube. Go ahead and hit subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything from the Crimson Tide Sports Network. That's going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to our guests, Keon, Keeley, Chris Stewart, and especially Jerry Duncan for all the time he gave us, especially Tyler Watts as well last night with Crimson Tide Rewind. Thanks to Ethan Carabin, our video producer, who put all this together, as well as produces our booth cam presented by Regions Bank. We appreciate his hard work, and we appreciate all of you for watching. For everybody at the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying thanks again for watching. We'll see you later on this week. Roll Tide.